Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. I just want to get into a few subjects of conversation. In the early days, what Debbie was actually saying, and technically wanted the public help, and was asking a lot more straightforward questions, which we were asking. So then we were on the same side. Let's get straight into this.
The total opposite way. Instead of going down to civilization, why he would go up the other way, I just can't get my head round that bit. I was just saying, like, I was like, thanks for what you've done, thanks for reporting him missing, but obviously not knowing anything else at that point. I would.
So obviously, what Lucy had told her was very, very limited information about what could have happened to Jay, that he wandered off, and she was just playing that she didn't know where he went.
Just saying, like, because she's only a kid herself, she's only 18.
Yeah, she is only 18, but she knows what she's doing.
And I said, like, thanks for reporting it, but then obviously after that, it were like, just so many questions.
The thing is, she's thinking sensibly because she was told the story. She probably went through it with, her other son, and then went through it probably with her ex as well, or a partner who's Warren, should I say, Jay's dad. And then thought, this ain't adding up. There's something seriously wrong. There's something adding up. And don't forget, she turned around and said, look, I don't trust anyone at the moment.
Thinking we can't change anything, like, but it's just like thinking, like, if you knew his location, well, why didn't you just go to him?
There you go. So there we see she wasn't questioning what anybody else was saying. She was questioning the friends. She was questioning Lucy. She was probably questioning Brandon and Brad as well in what happened and why did you go to him if he was actually in location. So it actually tells me she's probably speculating, was he really up to it? What do I believe?
Taxis, there's even a taxi rank up there.
There you go. She's thinking, what would my son do? He would call me if he'd call a taxi and ask me to pay for it, or organise to get money to him if he didn't have money. But she knows full well that if Jay was in any trouble, he would ring her.
There's a taxi rank. There's loads of taxis everywhere in Los Cristianos, in any of them resorts. Yeah, but it's all the what ifs and the ifs and buts and everything in it. But
I understand she's very, very confused. But like I says, I think this is when Debbie was thinking intelligently, in thinking, I don't think I'm being told the truth by the friends. There's more to this than meets the eye. And like I said, I don't think she knew fully what happened to Jay, but I think she does now.
Will I change anything? I just drive myself insane thinking about. I think she ringed me straight away. She was that worried, and she was ringing.
There you go. Don't forget, she didn't report him missing till late afternoon or something like that, which is a complete joke. And the reason why she didn't, because she felt guilty into what happened to him. And she was the one that said, look, or one of the ones, apart from Brad and Brandon, said, look, we'll take care of him. I know it's his first holiday abroad. I'll look after him, come over. Don't forget, he apparently, Lucy, had paid for that one ticket over there, which was quite odd. And then wasn't it his mum who had to pay for his return ticket? That's what we heard in the early days. But this is Debbie basically speculating on what she should be still doing now, is getting these questions, asking, the friends deep questions like this, calling them out. And she stopped doing it.
The police at that point, why did she ring his mum? Because she knows.
There you go. She knows the bond between them. She felt, Jesus, what am I going to say to Debbie? Lucy knew he was dead, I think, at the end of the day. And like I said, she panicked And this is why she turned around and said, "Oh my God, everything's my fault," in messages to other people. Or
Was that the bond that me and Jay? She knew the special bond that me and Jay have. I'm just glad that we spoke to each other that night.
Let's move on to part 2, people. We're going to move on to her points of view now. Obviously, over a year later, talking to the BBC. This is the 25th of the 9th.
To have to go through what we've been through. At the beginning, obviously, social media were great to spread awareness when Jay was missing, but then...
Yeah, but that's when, technically, she wanted our help. She wanted our help because she needed us. And when, obviously, the case was closed, she didn't want anybody to talk about it. Because I think one of the things is that it made her feel guilty that she closed, technically accepted everything what the coroner's report said, which is fair enough. That is entirely up to her and Warren and Zach. But like I said, the amount of questions she had early on the friends was unbelievable. She didn't trust them. You could actually see that. Now it seems that she's forgiven them and forgot what her points of view about before in getting the answers from the friend or getting to the truth. You could tell she was angry with the people that she went off with. They're to blame, but now she's blaming the sleuths and the trolls. I mean, yeah, the trolls have been very bad, very nasty, but a lot of us wanted to find the truth for the family. And this is why Debbie was saying, question Rocky, question Abe, and question anyone else that basically seemed to have a problem with Jay or had something to do with the case. That's the thought I got in the early days.
When you see the dark side of it, and you think, like, what are these people saying? And you report it, and you do think, well, yeah, they'll take this content down, but they don't remove it. You know, something needs to happen, because obviously we're not the first family to suffer through social media and misinformation, and it is that misinformation. You know what I mean? We had Jay's inquest.
I do think ever since that meeting, when she went back in June to Tenerife and met people like Chris and Luggy, things have drastically changed in her thoughts. I think she's been manipulated to think something else. And like I said, those thoughts she had on Jay's friends, they've just totally disappeared, which is absolutely bizarre.
With her, nobody wanted to believe what had really happened, and you know, the professionals that had put it out there, you know, they were reading what, you know, the result. Jay had a tragic accident, and they still, you know, they don't believe them facts.
It's not about don't believe them facts at the end of the day, because like I said, those facts are now, that story of Jay falling is actually being stamped by a coroner as just a tragic accident. But like I said, the actual run-up into Jay leaving the club and being in 101 places doesn't make sense, because like I said, he was last seen around about 12-13 minutes past in the morning AM, and that was it. We don't know exactly what actually happened to him. If you remember, in another video, Debbie had turned around and said, look, at the end of the day, if anybody's got him, please let him go. So that tells us that there could have been something sinister that she's heard from one of the friends, that someone's got him. Young people speak, young people panic. Lucy panicked, Brandon panicked, and Brad panicked as well. And they all knew that Jay had passed. We had friends from the Burnley area, or people that know Jay, was basically saying that he'd passed. Wasn't it Brandon? He went back to a wedding in England and said that Jay had gone. So there was a lot of people that knew Jay had passed, and that basically it was technically to them no longer a story. But obviously news travels fast. And this is why I think when we were speculating on the case, you had people like Chris Tenerife and Luggy coming into our chats, our DMs, to see what was going on, just in case important information was shared. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Debbie got it wrong, And I think she should have still asked questions about the friends, because they were the ones who wanted Jay to come with them, and that basically, I think he was used and abused, and I think he was just thrown away by his friends who never cared for him. That is where the problem is, and that is where the problem should have been diagnosed, and it hadn't. And one of the reasons why I think Debbie suspected Lucy and had a lot of question marks over her, because of all the reports she'd done. And like I said, she was running around like a headless chicken, or so it seems, in supposedly trying to find Jay. But like I said, when you actually listen to what she's saying, there's really no truth or substance in what she's saying. And we've had experts look at her statements and look at the way she's talking, and it never really made sense. And what it was, she was told to actually come out with a narrative that it was an accident. As long as they were telling that to the news, to the public, they always thought that they would get away with it, and they did so far.
Friend is a girl called Lucy. She was the first person to report him missing. I've been given access to her police statement. Lucy was asked a series of questions, and the answers are written in Spanish and translated into English, with a few words change so the report makes sense. Report number 2024 004859. The complainant herein states that she arrived on the vacation to the island of Tenerife together with her friend, both of English nationality.
She didn't. Did you notice it was never said that basically they flew out together? So I believe that Lucy was already out there planning things. I really do. She was already out on the island, and then Brad and Jay flew out together.
Arrived last June 12 and plan to return next June 20 to England. They are staying in an apartment called Victoria Court, Los Cristianos. Last night they went out partying, and her missing friend met with two boys of English nationality, also on vacation on the island of Tenerife, and went with one of these friends to the latter's house, which is also for rent, in the area known as Masca de Bervinita del Norte, on El Trino Street in said area, without further information only. That the house is located in front of the bus stop of said place, next to the restaurant known as Masca. But he had gotten lost. He was in Masca and he had suffered a fall. He was injured on one leg. He didn't have any cell phone battery left, and he was very scared. He told us.
Okay, point one I want to make. If he was afraid or didn't want to stay where he was, why didn't he go into the cafe or talk to... I know Ophelia couldn't speak all English, but why couldn't he say, can I plug this in for 5-10 minutes in your cafe or something? I know you're not open, or could you plug it in and I'll wait outside for 5-10 minutes so I can get some charge? That didn't make sense to me. His mum said Jay never goes out without a full charge on his phone at the end of the day. And if he was ever in trouble, he would have rang me. And she's always stated that. She knows her son. And this is my point of view. She should have kept pushing for the answers.
Friend that he was afraid of dying. The complainant knows him well. They came on vacation together, and he is very worried about his friend and is sure something serious has happened. At the early stages, I was told Lucy was being evasive and not speaking to anybody. However...
Okay, so was it the family said that... Was it Debbie and Warren had said that basically Lucy's been evasive and she's not answered questions? Because it sounds like to me that Debbie had probably fallen out with Lucy or didn't trust her because of the information coming across. And maybe that it was Brad that told Debbie a lot more of what happened and the run-up into basically Jay's disappearance. Because we know as soon as Jay couldn't get money out of his bank account, he went missing and quite a few things changed. You could see his friends looking in on him, basically in the club, getting ranked, and they were just letting him do it as well. you know, possibly, you know, there's a big possibility. We heard that Tom's over there. It is strange. It really, really is strange. That sort of, it looked like a serious conversation between Lucy and Jay, where she was talking into his ear. Did she tell him to leave because she thought, oh my God, this is going to kick off. This is worse than what I first thought, and he could lose his life? Is that why she said leave now? But it was too late because he'd already been spiked.
She responded almost straight away to my call and was clearly very upset, but really wanted to help. Lucy explained to me that after speaking to Jay, she contacted the police. What did you do straight after that phone call?
Straight after the phone call, I rang the police.
Okay, and so you phoned the police, but you didn't make an official report till 6:15 in the evening, did you?
And this is a massive problem. Mark Williams Thomas did ask the right questions to Lucy, but Lucy was very vague, and she has been in every statement and everything she says at the end of the day, because she's given a time plan to actually stick to with Ayob, with Rocky, and with the rest of them as well, your Brands and your Brandons, to stick to this story, and you'll get away with it.
No, I did. I went to the police. The first thing I did was ring the police. The police kept ending the phone on me on the phone. So I rang my mum and I was like, Mum, I really don't know what to do. Like, what do I do? They're just ending the phone on me. They're not taking this seriously whatsoever. I was like, what do I do? So she was like, just go to the police station and see what they're doing. So I went to...
I mean, all we've got is her word. So she went into the police station at 6:15, but she was ringing them and they were hanging up on her. I don't think the police would do that, to be honest with you. They'd say, look, I'll phone you back or something. That is odd to me that they would actually have 6:15 on that Monday, 6:15.
I ran down to the taxi rank, got a taxi straight to the nearest police station to me, which was the Las Americas police station. I went in and I was like, I need to report somebody missing, and she gave me this piece of paper that said, I can't remember what it said. It said like, you need to go on this website and sorry, I'm not selecting days.
She didn't want to remember, and she didn't want to be questioned on that at the end of the day. It was also said, didn't she go to a smaller police station near Massacre as well? And didn't also the leaked court document said that she did stay at the Airbnb? So what we're getting is BS.
My brain's actually not working. I've sold the piece of paper. I can't. My literal brain is not working. Yeah, but this is what I mean. I was trying to make the report. I was literally shooed out of the police station. Okay. I kept going saying, what's going on, what's happening, like. Okay. And she gave me this piece of paper and it said that I needed to go on to...
So technically, she went to a police station and she was actually shooed out and told to go online on this website and report your friend on what's happened and what you think's happened.
So what are the two black men that drove the car that Jay was in when they went back to their rental address in the mountains? Who are they? They are absolutely vital witnesses. They are possibly, other than the lady at the bus stop, the last people to see Jay. I asked Lucy what she knew about them.
I have no idea.
Well, why do you not have any idea? You went back in a car with them the next day.
So if she went back in the car with them the next day, then she was with them. She was with them. They've had to drop her back to Los Cristianos to make that report. And this is why it was so late, because they were actually discussing what they were going to do and how the narrative was going to go for people not to basically find red flags in this case. And they thought that's all they had to do. As long as she was back in Los Cristianos and could do a report, but really she was at the Airbnb. Was it basically that sort of morning they were basically going out as though they were looking for Jay, and this is what the arguments were about? That would make more sense to me, for them to go out in the early hours of the morning pretending to look for Jay as though something was wrong.
Yeah, I don't know who they are. I don't know. How would I
Brandon.
know who they are?
Well, Brandon knows who they are.
He doesn't know who they are. He knows of one of them because he's seen them in a coffee shop before.
Did you see how her attitude had changed at the end of the day? She's got defensive because, like I said, she doesn't want Brandon to get in any trouble.
But hang on, but Brandon introduced Jay and Brad and you to them. So Brandon must know them. How does he know them? What are they involved in, Lucy? Lucy, you just got to be straight with me here. What are they involved in?
So he's obviously heard something from somebody, a third party. It could have been someone who's a good friend of Jay's, who was out there as well, which is anonymous, and said, look, there were strange things was happening. They went off with these guys. Something wasn't right, the way Jay was and the way Jay was carried off. Did even MWT talk to the eyewitness who saw Jay carried off? Who knows?
Really straight. They're not involved in anything together. I don't have a clue. I don't know how he knows them. It's literally passing in a coffee shop. That's all I know.
But you don't pass people in a coffee shop and then and then spend 2 nights with them, and then Jay goes back with them. And why are they staying so far away from Los Cristianos?
This is what I mean. I don't know why they're staying up there. I don't know. I had never met these people in my life.
Well, she knows them because she was at other, basically, concerts with them in the UK. She definitely knows Ayub. That's 100%. She definitely knows Luggy. She definitely knows Chris Tenerife as well. At the end of the day, she's a part of something which she doesn't want to reveal. It's as simple as that. And like I said, we've had expert analysts look at this, and including Sonia Polton as well. And she even said this, that, you know, she's covering for somebody in this case. And I think that Debbie in the early days knew that and thought, this is odd. I'm not being told the truth, or I'm being sold a narrative, which I don't believe. She was angry with Lucy and Brandon. And this is one of the reasons why they didn't go back to the wake in the pub, because they were being questioned and probably ended up getting beat up there for lying. That's what it is.
So you went in the car with them the next day?
If I knew who they were, I would have been down to them myself.
Okay.
If I knew who they were, I would have been down to them myself, and I would have been saying, what has gone on? Like, I found this house, and I went up, and the door was slightly open. They were just weird. There's something weird about them. But why are they even allowed to leave the country? It's just so many questions.
Okay, so how are we going to...
It's funny, isn't it? Young people, because they haven't really lived, they start blaming other people. Because what it is, because obviously Lucy is being questioned by MWT, and she knows that she was in that, going back with them to the Airbnb. And this is why she took the picture, because she didn't fully trust them.
How are we going to find them? Brandon must know who they are.
I don't have a clue. I don't know. This is what I mean. I don't know. If I knew who they were, I would have come and spoke to them myself. I've been trying to do digging to find out who they are, but I'm not no detective.
And that was, she wanted a way out. This is what it's all about. She wanted a way out. So I believe that Lucy was fed a narrative to actually keep to by the people involved into this case. I think she had to answer to a lot of people. And I think she didn't realise how scary things could get. And she knew that she had to come up with a story that would be manipulated by the ones involved in Jay's disappearance, the accident crew, the people that took Jay, the people that killed Jay, and the people she actually works for as well. I'm just wondering whether it was probably a couple of Jay's close friends who turned around and said, look, Lucy involved in his disappearance. Because like I said, if you think about it in the early days from that first video, it seemed like to me that Debbie was gunning for Lucy and wanting more questions. And I wonder if MW2 said to Debbie in the early days that you can't trust her. She knows more than what she's letting on, to be honest with you. So I do think that they were ever friends of Jay's who knew what happened to him, were coming up in people's DMs in different names and saying, look, I know what happened to Jay. This is what's happened, because they couldn't do it in their real names due to fear of maybe getting a kick in, or probably even killed, or threats, on their family or lives. And this is what it's about at the end of this, about controlling a narrative from the very, very, very start. They knew if this happened in Tenerife, they can more likely to get away with it because, like I said, there are gangs, which knows Roman. If you've got the money, he can make things happen. Let me know your thoughts, people, because, like I said, from the early days, what Debbie was actually saying about Lucy and about the narrative, she didn't believe it, but now she does believe it. Yes, I understand she's accepted the coroner's report and what actually happened to him, but there's still so many unanswered questions. Why did she stop questioning the friends? Was she told to let it go? Was it Luggy and Chris manipulated her into thinking something different and basically seeing her MP, Sarah Smith, and trying to get this Jay's Law? This is not about Jay's Law. This was about getting justice for Jay Slater. And I just believe that Debbie's been taken down a different road. Let me know your thoughts, people. Thank you very much indeed. And don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment.